The target pattern for this lecture is "It's just as well that." With this English pattern, we can omit some of the words. So as you saw in the first slide, two of the words were in brackets, it's and that. So these two words can be omitted from this particular pattern. We'll look more at this later. First of all, let's have a look at the meaning of this English pattern. Look at this example. It's just as well that it's raining a lot today. My plants need to be watered. So what does the pattern "it's just as well that" mean? It means it's a good thing that this happened. And this thing is often a bad thing or a lucky thing. Let me explain the meaning a bit more for you. So when we use this phrase, we mean that something bad is actually a good thing. So something that is usually negative, in this situation is actually good. So in the example I read, I said, it's just as well that it's raining a lot today. We usually think of rain as a bad thing. People don't love rain in particular. So if it's raining a lot, we think it's a bad thing because we can't go out, we can't enjoy the weather. But in this situation, it's a good thing because I said my plants need to be watered. So my plants need water to be able to grow. So this is actually a good thing. It's a blessing in disguise, as we say in English. It means something looks bad on the surface, but actually there's a good thing happening behind it. So we use this phrase to say, this bad thing is actually not so bad in this situation. I can say, it's just as well that it's raining a lot today because my plants need some water. You see? So that's how we use this English pattern. Let's look at the example sentences so that we can understand this pattern much more deeply. Here's the first one. Oh, look, it's starting to rain. It's just as well that I brought our raincoats. So in this example, we're talking about a lucky thing, not something bad. Remember, there are two ways we can use this pattern. We can use it for something that seems bad or something that's lucky. So in this case, it's a lucky thing that the person brought their raincoats. So when they went out in the morning, it was nice and sunny. But the person thought, let me bring our raincoats just in case. And later, it started to rain. So it was lucky that she brought the raincoats. This case you can use the pattern. It's just as well that I brought our raincoats. Okay, so this is a lucky thing. Let's have a look at example number 2. So John says, oh no, I forgot my wallet at home. And his friend Frank replies, just as well I brought my money. Don't worry, I'll lend you some. This particular example is talking about something lucky. So John forgot his money at home. He's supposed to pay for something in the shop, but he left his wallet at home. But his friend Frank, luckily, had money with him, so he can lend some money to John. So in this case, Frank used the phrase, just as well I brought my money. It means it's lucky that I brought my money because I can lend you some. And notice I used the shortened version of this pattern. Instead of saying the full version, it's just as well that, I just used just as well. So the three words are the shortened version. Now let's look at one more example. It's just as well your car was stolen. It was so old that it was falling apart. So with this particular example, we're talking about a very bad thing. So remember, with this pattern, you can talk about bad things or lucky things that happened. This one is talking about a bad thing, but it's also a humorous example. So what happened was someone's car was stolen. Let's say my friend had his car stolen. And I say that's a good thing. So usually if someone steals your car, it's a very bad thing. But in this situation, I'm trying to make it funny. So I said it's a good thing that your car was stolen because it was so old. It was falling apart. It was broken and damaged and bits were falling off. So this is a humorous example. We're saying this bad thing is actually not bad because your car was terrible anyway. So the fact that it was stolen is a good thing. Now, let's look at the structure for this pattern. So the structure is like this. It's just as well that plus a subject, a verb, and an object. So basically a full grammatical sentence. For example, it's just as well that I brought our raincoats. So that is the basic structure. Simply use a full grammatical sentence after the English pattern. It's just as well that. Now, there's a couple of other things we have to note. Have a look at this. So when we use this pattern, it's just as well that plus subject, verb, and object. We also need some context about the situation. So we can use this context after the pattern. For example, it's just as well your car was stolen. It was so old that it was falling apart. So the context gives more information about the situation. And you're giving your reason why you think this is a good thing or a lucky thing. Similarly, we can put the context before the pattern, like this. So we put the context and then it's just as well that plus subject, verb, and object. For example, your car was so old that it was falling apart. It's just as well it was stolen. So this is the same example. We've just switched the context with the pattern. That's the pattern. Now what you should do is move on to the listening and speaking practice exercises. Make sure as well that you download the MP3s so that you can listen to the example sentences wherever you go. So when you're on the bus, train, when you're exercising, listen to the MP3 many, many times so that you can train your brain to master this English pattern. See you in the next lecture.